Hey guys, it's your girl Kizzy Rock, and yes, Kizzy Rock is my birth given name. Happy Tuesday morning. Want to say hey to all my subscribers, new as well as season. I got a word for you. Tap in. Happy Tuesday, guys. So I want to speak to you guys about a couple of things. I want to speak about selfish people, removing selfish people in different avenues, as well as if you were to learn and get clear confirmation that you were wrong about the promise, are you willing to release it and go on with life and allow God to direct you back on the path that has been designed for you? Or would you be angry and so disappointed and full of despair that you're going back to the streets or wherever you were? so so let's start with ungrateful folks. Let me just tell you guys, I'm in this season personally, right? We're on, if I'm honest, I got so much stuff going on that I just don't even have the capacity to just give out just because. Like I can't just pour out to people just because. I can't do it right now. I'm just not in that space mentally right now. What I can do is pour out when God gives me a certain grace to do something, like making this recording right now, right? Like there are certain days I can't make it. There's no grace on me to make the recording that day because I'm dealing with my own stuff, right? So I only have the capacity right now to do the things that I'm convicted to do for that moment. For that moment. So anything else, I just can't. I just can't. There's no grace behind it. So with all that being said, sometimes when you're in that sitting posture and you start looking back at certain things over your life, you will start to realize that sometimes the people who give the least expect the most. Sometimes the people who give the least expect the most. And that can be in relationships of absolutely all sorts. Where there's something going on and we're waking up more and more, my empaths, my chosen ones, my HSP, highly sensitive people, where before we were kind of just like in, what do you call it when you're just doing things and you're just going. We were like in, it'll come to me, where now we're at this place of stillness. And in stillness, you start to really reflect back on certain things. And so now you're at this place where you're just not allowing anyone to pull from you through a selfish place. You can't put demands on me that you've never even given, right? You want me to show up for you here, but you never showed up for me ever here. So there's a lot that's going on in that posture of just selfish people who want what they want. These are your takers. These can be your narcissists. These are just people who just take. Want, right? And gives nothing. Get a piece of paper, draw down a line down the middle of the paper, write down everything you've ever done for them, and write down everything they've done for you. And granted, that's not how it's not like a petty thing where it's like tit for tat. No, but you're just in this place now where God has you really reflecting back on a lot of things. And he's bringing these things to your attention for a reason. And there's just this stillness and this peacefulness that allows you to release, because now you're really seeing in detail things that you missed. I was listening to Pastor R.C. Blake's last night. Well, actually, I was listening to it this morning. But he was just saying, just to kind of summarize, how sometimes he have to even question if he's even really reaching people like that. Really, like if it's even worth it. Because it's like people have this new generation have this mindset of this, that, and the third, and it's like, is it even worth it? Okay, that's one part of it. But then the other part of it is you got almost 1 million people, but yet you still might see 1,000, maybe 2,000 likes, right? You may see X amount of comments. That is not even a third of the people who are watching. Yet you're constantly asking people to like or comment, right? Because it gives the video. Oh my God! It gives the video more volume to reach other people. It's support. You're not paying, essentially, for therapy to a certain degree. You're not even paying for it. Someone is taking time out of their day, right? They're called to it. So really, truth be told, because even speaking for myself, if you're not called to it and you're not getting that constant conviction to keep on, you will turn that computer off and you go live your life. You'll be somewhere on somebody's island enjoying your life. But it's a call, right? It's a call on your life. But it's still very frustrating that you will have people who are not even supporting. Then you will have people in comment section saying, well, you should do a video on this. Not, can you please do a video on this? Do a video on that. Like, people truly are selfish. People are takers. There is no type of gratitude. And this is not for everybody, of course, right? You have tons of supporters, right? But it's just that thing. It just makes you sit one day and you start to think like, what? I mean, what am I even doing? Why am I even sitting here making a video 3 or 4 times a week just to have a lack of support, just to have selfish people who don't appreciate and don't even have no type of gratitude, and rather put demands on what I should be putting out versus receiving and being grateful and thankful to what I'm already putting out? Make it make sense. Ciao. So personally, again, I'm just at a posture where I'm not in the space this season right now where I have the mental capacity to just deal with random petty things, right? I really only have the grace to do the things that God convicts me to do that day. So all the other stuff have to get shut off, guys. Whoever is pulling at you mentally has to go, guys. And here's the truth. You don't have to question yourself. Is it me? Am I overthinking things? Listen, it could be you. It could be some triggers you got going on. But I'm speaking about your spirit. Your spirit will never lie to you. I'm not speaking about your trauma triggers and you think he's cheating because he didn't answer the phone when he's at work. I'm not speaking about that. I'm speaking about that gut feeling in your spirit that tells you that something is off. This person is not as pure as you once thought. This person has been using you all along and you just couldn't see it. This person never really had the right motives, but somehow that little beautiful heart of yours overlooked certain things. And now God is bringing things back to your spirit. It's sitting in your spirit. You can't lie when something is in your spirit. You feel it. But the problem is the people pleasing in us at times. The problem is the empath in us at times. We don't want to hurt anybody's feeling by cutting them off or telling them, listen, you ain't it no more. But yet these same people who you don't want to, quote unquote, hurt their feelings is hurting yours by using and abusing you. The season is done. The season is done. And so what's going to happen is God's going to continue, right? You already got this gut feeling in your spirit that something is off and God is dissipating this thing on this left side, right? You got that feeling, but you're still holding on because of some lingering effects of something. God is going to keep continuing and allowing this person to hurt you more and more. Certain things are going to keep triggering you more and more. He's going to keep putting it in your face more and more to the point that you cannot ignore it any longer. And let me just tell you something. Once God has been clear about something, let it be if he's telling you to remove a person, place, or thing, if he's telling you to do this, that, and the third, once God has been clear about it and he knows that you have received it, that's not a time you want to play with. That's not a time you want to play with. So let's talk about if you were off about the promise. Hear me and hear me well. Please don't let the enemy get up in your head and make you think that this is for you and is not for you. It could be for one person. It could be for no person. I'm just speaking in general, but your spirit, remember, your spirit will always alert you. This is why it's also very important that when you get up each morning and you pray and you ask God to cleanse your heart, forgive you for all your sins, known, unknown. Make sure you add in that cleanse my spirit, right? Cleanse my heart. Cleanse my heart. Your heart needs to be cleansed all day long because familiar spirits are real, right? And your own desires are real. But there's a group of you, a great number of you who are on my channel, who God has given you a promise for some years and years and years ago, for some more recent, but God has given you a promise, and you've been on this journey, and you've had highs and lows. You've seen fruit, and then you've hit delays, and you try to shake it, and you ask God to take the promise from you, and he won't, or he takes it for a minute, and then he brings it back full force, and it's like this thing is just chasing you. It's like it's chasing you, and you're like, would you leave me alone? Right? But it's still longing in your spirit. And no one can even understand it unless this person has gone through the same thing or they're going through the same thing. The average person will think you're cuckoo because it's hard for you to describe what you feel in your spirit to a fleshly individual who's just not deep enough to discern what you're saying. And this is why you have to be careful on when you are speaking, because if a person can't discern spiritually what you're saying, they're going to tell you you're cuckoo. They're going to tell you that's not God, right? That's why sometimes it's best when God drops something in your spirit, that thing got to sit up in your spirit, and you have to be quiet until God actually get wise counsel, if he ever even actually get wise counsel. So many of you know you are on the right path, right? You know it. There's a group, you don't even question it. You know that you know that you know that you know that you know, right? You might be frustrated and all, right? It may be delays and all, but you know that you know that you know. Many of these promises for this group is going to be released very soon. Some of you guys have already seen your promises from reading your emails, but for some of you, the promise is going to be, and it's going to come so quick, like it's going to look like it's way left, and then it's going to turn back around and it's going to come so quick. This is why you have to always be prepared. It's going to come at a time when you least expect it, when you went on to start doing something else. But then there's a group of you, or maybe, I don't even know, where that promise, see, with the other group, that promise got downloaded in the spiritual realm out of somewhere, right? Somebody confirmed something that they wasn't even thinking about. Something hit their spirit just out of the blue. This is not even something that they concocted. Something just dropped in your spirit. God wanted you to do this, that, and the third. God showed you something about your future. It could be a person, place, or thing, right? It came out of nowhere. It's not like it's something you wanted. You weren't online researching it for Satan and know like, well, let me send a familiar spirit because I see you researching ministries and how to start a nonprofit. I see it. I see it. I see it. So let me start throwing some familiar spirits and lies up in there, right? No, this thing was dropped into your spirit. You weren't even thinking about it. This is not even a life you would have probably chose for yourself. Probably not even a person you would have chose for yourself. It dropped in your spirit and it has not left. All right, that's that group. The other side are people who wanted something for themselves, person, place, or thing, just from your own desires. And granted, there's nothing wrong with wanting things for your own desires. But you got to understand that there's a difference between God-given desires versus your own. See, when it's a God-given desire, then there's all kind of stuff to back you up. There's grace, there's protection, there's this, that. But when it's your own desires, you got to carry that thing yourself. You got to carry it yourself. And, like I said, there's nothing wrong with goals, right? I'm a very goal-oriented person at times. I'm a very determined person at times. But I also know the difference when it's me versus when it's a God-given desire. So for those of you, if any, to speak in general here, you concocted something yourself. You never even heard God about it. Like this thing just never, you concocted it yourself. This whole blueprint for yourself. You didn't even consult with God. You just want what you want and you're on that path to get it. And now you're hitting some delays and things like that, right? So within that process, things might have become so disheartening because you feel like you're not achieving the things that is surrounded around this promise. And now, my deers, I haven't seen the deers like in a month. They just popped up. And now it's like, now you want to ask God to step in. Because now I'm trying to achieve your wants, your desires, right? On your own, you're realizing that you're not having any, you're not getting anything. So now you go and ask God to step in. God, please help me with X, Y, and Z. Help me with my desires. Well, God is not, he doesn't have to help you with your desires. Remember, God changes our desires, right? God will give you the desires of your heart. But from my experience, he changes your desires first. That's my experience. I don't know about anybody else, right? But I've never heard a person say that they came out with a desire first and then God just came on board with it. And I don't know. Maybe that has happened. I just never heard about it. So now that you're so full of despair and you feel like you are lost in the wilderness, and now you go back and say, well, God, yeah, I created this, but can you please help me out here? Okay. If God happens to say, well, yeah, because it's not anything bad. And I can see how I can take this and tweak it and use you for kingdom purposes, right? But what if God says, no, that's not my desire. That's you. I want no parts of it. In fact, since you're at a posture where you're asking me some truths, what if I tell you that that's not the will of your life for me? What if I tell you that you're all the way left and that's never going to happen? What if I tell you that that person was never ever designed for you? That was just your flesh and some familiar spirits got caught up in there. That business plan that you were working on, that was never my plan. I wanted you to do some, not ministry, what do you call it when you go? I wanted you to do something else. So I need you to crush that whole business plan and start over. I need you to release that person so I can send you the correct one. And regardless of what it is, it's going to be 20 times better than what you even thought it could have been. Okay? If God says that to you, are you willing? Be honest with yourself. Are you willing to crush your blueprint, get back in alignment, and allow God to lead you to the place where He really needs you to be, right? You done move somewhere across the world, but He really needs you to be there. You move for your... I feel like somebody moved, never mind, moved for the wrong reasons, but whatever. You move all the way across the world, but now God is saying, no, but I don't want you there. I want you here. Are you willing to pack up again and relocate? Or are you still going to be clinging and hanging on to the no, I'm not ready to let it go yet, even though God have told you He can't take you further in any direction unless you fully surrender? What would you do? The truth of the matter is, a time will come, if you're not there yet, where you say, well, you know what, I might be wrong, but I'm not willing to. A time will come, be gentle with yourself, that you will be happy to release it. You will be happy to release it because you've just spun your wheels one too many times. You water dead grass one too many times. And the process will hit you all of a sudden where you realize you'll come to the end of it. And then you fully surrender. And you say, you know what, God? Tell me, where you want me to go? Let me call some U-Haul trucks. Let's go. Because you'll get to that place where you truly all you want is to be in His will. Because the process of this done wore you out so bad that you would rather be wherever God is calling you to be. But the problem is, many of you feel that way now. Well, God, tell me the next step. But it's still lingering in your spirit. To my group who I was speaking about prior. Many of you are at a posture where you're so tired and you're just so over it. It's like, God, can you please tell me where I need to go next? What is the next move? Like, I'm ready. Like, I'm ready. Just tell me where you need me to go. Next state, next country. Where am I going? Because I'm over it. But He still will not release you. See, that's when you know. That's one reason how you know when it's God. You're ready to go. But there's still this longing in your spirit that He has not released you fully. He may have released you some. That tension may have eased up because you're not trying to control the situation any longer, like how you were at the beginning or even the middle. So there was a lot of tension there. So some of your tension was getting mixed up too because of your getting ahead of God. But now that because some of you have fully surrendered, and I mean fully, but there's still, this is almost like an umbilical cord. You're still, and it's like, if you don't cut this cord, but you can't go nowhere. You can't go nowhere. That's how close the promise is for some of you guys. The umbilical cord will be cut. And you're going to get to see the full manifestation of this long drawn out process of whatever God has promised you. But some of you don't even feel it in the others, not now speaking about the other group, if there is a group or one person, you don't even feel it in your spirit. You never felt it in your spirit. Everything is all tied up in the flesh. Oh, she fine. She thick. He fine. He got money. He this, that, and the third. I don't want him with anybody else. If I leave him, he got 4 side chicks. But if you leave him, the other 3 gonna get him. Well, I mean, they already got him, right? So you're whatever you got going on, you're driving it by flesh. Oh, I want this business because with this business is going to pay me triple what I'm making on my job right now, which is great. But is that where God wants you? Because sometimes God will pull you to the place where the money is less. But if you're driving the nail because everything is all about physical, tangible things that you want, is God really in that? And again, there's nothing wrong with that. Those are still goals, dreams, and desires. But is God in that? If God is not in that, then you got to nail that hammer on your own. The best place you want to be is in a God-given purpose. Let me tell you, there's something right now that I had no absolute desire for myself to do it. I mean, it's just not something I would think. And that's another thing. It's not even things that you would think of. You be sitting here thinking you want to do this, right? You done planned your whole life out. You want to do this. And so when God downloads these things to you, these are things that you never even thought about or you even wanted to do for yourself. But he gave you some type of prompting. It's a very profound nudge in your spirit that you just can't shake it. Some people felt it and just never moved on it. Some people felt it and never moved on it. They ignored that prompting, which really is, you're kind of probably in disobedience. I'm thinking, I don't know. But then some of you guys moved on that prompting, even when it didn't make sense to you, even when you didn't want to do it, but you're disobedient. So there was something that God downloaded in my spirit probably about 7 years ago. And I was like, I ain't got time for that. Why would I even do that? I mean, that's not even something I want to do, right? But then I started to do it. And when I did it, I fell in love with it. See, that's the point. He changed your desires. But you got to be in alignment and you have to be obedient to what he called you to do. You may not want to do it, but if you just step into it, right? When you step into it, there's a grace and you will develop a love for the thing. And now because you're in alignment, he's going to bless it. And so from 7 years ago, where it's something that I was like, I don't know, is now like one of my biggest hobbies in making tons of money from it. Where everybody else is just learning about it or trying to catch up to it. And I'm like, I'm solid in that area. But it's because he gave me a download. He gave me a nudge to do a particular thing. Somebody is catching this right now. I can feel it. To do a particular thing, whatever that thing may be. Nobody may even agree with you. People in your household may even think that you're insane, right? But there's this longing in your spirit that God had placed and told you to do something. Write that book, to get this thing patent. It's something. And it may be something that's really, really like quirky or like maybe off to the average person. God just don't give us things in our spirit for just no reason. Why would he just sit something in your spirit for no reason? It's a seed. It's a seed, but you got to water that seed. And the more you do it, because of the grace, you will love it. And it's going to really be beneficial to your life. But I wanted to share that, just a few things, like I said, just to summarize, like, listen, you can't have selfish people pulling at you right now. Anybody who's not adding value to your life in one way or another, it's so irrelevant. It's so petty. You just ain't got time right now because some of you guys are really zooming in on like the promise. Like the promise is literally like at the doorstep, but the enemy is going to be very, very tricky. He's going to, thank you, Holy Spirit. Listen. Y'all listening? You're listening? Who, honey, is you listening? Thank you, Holy Spirit, because I wasn't even thinking about that. Listen to me and listen to me well. Those of you who are contemplating giving up or walking away, right? Now, this is the group that you know, but you're just tired and you don't even like it anymore. but God haven't released you fully. This is the time where the enemy is going to really, really get into your head, and the enemy is going to start downloading things into your head. And these are going to be the very things that God told you not to do very early on in the promise. if that makes sense. Like when God gave you this promise and you started to really start this process, it was like a pack. There were certain things that God told you you needed to work on. You can't do this anymore. You can't go here anymore. You can't have company over anymore after certain, whatever God told you to do, right? You remain committed throughout the process. But now, because that desire is not like top notch and top tier anymore, you're just like, you can slack with it now. The enemy is going to trick you like that. Remember what God told you initially and throughout that process, what to do, what not to do, and who not to do, if you catch my drift. But the enemy is going to come right on back around and start making you think like, oh, well, you can do it now because, the promise is close, so you might as well just go ahead. Or it may be another year, so you might as well just listen. The enemy is a liar. He's a liar, right? So, listen, sometimes you're going to amp yourself back up. Sometimes you have to amp yourself back up. Go back and look at that vision board. Go back and read the journal. Go back to the very first time you got the download. Go back throughout the process and remember the highlights, because there were some good times, right? Remember the highlights. Amp yourself, geek yourself back up, because the promises are close, but the enemy is literally trying to get you to do something that's going to cancel out the promise that took your edges. You guys have a great one. It's your girl, Kizzy Rock.